This is a week 3 assignment, a PowerPoint presentation, and a screencast-o-matic for this project or this assignment. Page 1. The categories above are presented by Maslow as not only a description of the individual needs, but also places a hierarchy of the importance upon these categories. Visually, this is shown as a pyramid with physiological needs at the base and culminating at self-actualization at the top. So this image not only identifies need, but also demonstrates that individuals' needs are reliant on order of development. Pyramids, for instance, pyramids cannot be built without the foundation of the previous level having been set and secured in preparation of the next. Not only does a pyramid's foundation need to be sound, but each level of a pyramid is different in size from the one before. From this, we can draw the conclusion that individuals grow over time and they advance through the levels of Maslow's pyramid to encounter the levels of Maslow's pyramid. They encounter changes in their needs as they advance through the pyramid. The changes in each level, therefore, are no less prominent as a need from its predecessor. This is merely the required essential of the new level of need. Then we move on to explaining what the family is, and I went into explaining this because before I can show what they need, you really have to find out what the family is. So this is a brief explanation of that. With further examination of this concept, after these bullet points, we can see a clear image of the family description take form. First, there is an emphasis on the well-being of minor members of the family unit from leading members. In other words, adults take care of the young. Secondly, cohesion of the members into a unique and standalone unit, which can be distinguished from other similar groups in the network of society, therefore resulting in a sense of belonging. For instance, the Jones versus the Smiths, there's a sense of identity there. Thirdly, we see the family unit demonstrating the desire to do whatever each individual can foster for the ongoing success of the group throughout time. Some examples of this would be through inheritance for future generations of family members to ensure the success of the family. So before we can answer the needs, I thought it was important to answer how a family functions. And that was done, I believe, in chapter 2 or 3. They defined 8 principles or theoretical perspectives. The first 4 are as follows. Family system theory postulates that all members of the family are interconnected to such a degree that if one individual is affected by some outside event, positive or negative, this has a ripple effect throughout the entire family structure. Social exchange theory is the theory each individual is viewed from an autonomous perspective, who have their own self-interest and use the family's pooled resources as an avenue to get what they desire through bartering or power plays. Symbolic interactionism is, in this theory, family members are not regulated to any specific role within the family, instead are treated as individuals whose daily interactions through talk, gestures, actions, and shared beliefs develop a unique family framework. According to Mead, how a family responds to any given situation is due to the contributions of each individual member, interactions with each other over time. Then we move on to conflict theory, which focuses on the constant power struggle that occurs within a family. It paints some members of the family as subordinate to those members that are in control. With this dynamic, each individual is characterized by 3 essential elements. The first is the members are driven by desire. Secondly, relationships are defined by power. And thirdly, members are selfish and focus on achieving their own goals rather than the family. From there, we move on to the next 4, and this is what they are. Family or feminist perspective. This theory about family structure weighs heavily on the experience and contribution of women, the male-dominated social order that resulted in the subordination of women and the drive to see the subordination brought to an end. According to Osmond and Thorne, a 4th element is identified in this theory, which focuses on how social life is founded and the relationship between genders Unfortunately, with such a heavy hand toward the women in the family unit, the male component then suffers. Family ecological theory, according to Boblos and Sontag, draws from Haeckel that there is a link between the environment and biology and science. Bearing this in mind, the family ecological theory was developed to define some family structure. According to Hawley, families were using their experience with the outside world to influence the change the relationships within the family unit, while still maintaining their own unique family structure. 7. Family strengths framework. According to Moore and Assay, this theory ignores what may be negative about the family structure and instead focuses on what works and has a positive effect. Now, there are 6 markers of this type of family that have been identified. They are family commitment, quality time, spiritual well-being, ability to deal with high levels of stress and family crisis successfully, positive dialogue, and love for one another. Finally, family development theory. Family in this is recognized as a group that is never stagnant and is constantly developing and moving through one area of family life into the next. This concept is based on time and dynamic nature of the members who make up the group. This concept does not regard its explanation of the family to anything outside of the family. This theory only concerns itself with understanding and studying the family unit. So at this point, we have discussed and reviewed the needs of the individual on the basic level through the use of Maslow's pyramid, explored the definition of the family, and soundly examined 8 theoretical frameworks that help to define some general outlines of family structure. We can now begin to marry individual needs into the matrix of the family needs system without disregarding the individual. By developing the correlation between the individual and the family and expanding into the attributes of value, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors, we can then see the impact upon family resource management revealed. So now we move on to family needs. So since we discussed what a family's structures are and what a family is, then we can hopefully define the need of the family, and that is economic, sociological needs, and physiological, psychological, and social needs, which is what the family requires. After we get those, we can move on to the guiding principles of values. So values, beliefs, and attitudes and behavior play into, or actually add to, or reinforce what was stated about the needs of the family and the needs of the individual. I believe the family is a higher level of these principles. So according to Moore, values can be defined under 2 general perspectives. The first aspect of value deals with transactions between individuals. And the second aspect of value stems from internal guiding principles. Because of this, the principles are greatly more personal and subjective. Beliefs or morals are a personal value that fall under an individual's spiritual or religious life as a source of what is right or wrong. Individuals evaluate problems or circumstances through this lens of perception and make value-based judgments from it. An attitude can be, and we move on to attitudes, and attitudes can be defined as an emotional posturing that a person will have as a result of applying their values to a given situation. Awareness of how their values can affect those around them manifests within the individual, and attitude that may be positive or negative in response to whatever event they find themselves in. Finally, behavior. In order to have an attitude about any given situation, and an individual must have a value system. This value system feeds into the attitude, which results in the final piece, namely behavior. Behavior is the action taken because of the inputs provided by values and attitudes. So there seems to be a cause and effect that links these 3 attributes together to form a decision-making framework, starting with values, which are foundational, then moving into attitudes, which take society into account. We finally end up at behavior or our conduct. The differences are clear. the lines to define where one starts, and the other ends can easily be crossed, pointing toward a dynamic and ever-changing cognitive landscape. So now we're at the point where we've kind of discussed individual needs, family needs. We explained the different structures of a family. I was in hopes to bring a better understanding of what a family is and how it operates, to better understand that family needs are correlated with individual needs. Since individuals spring into families, then it just makes sense that we should understand those principles before we move on to answering the question. Now we have to understand family resource management. What is it? Reflecting on all that has been reviewed about individuals and familiar needs, values, beliefs, attitudes, behaviors, we can finally turn to the definition of family resource management. Family resource management, simply put, is the way in which family manages its resources in order to provide family members with the basic needs of life, namely food, clothing, shelter. So, family resource management can be broken down into family, resource, and management, which is an appropriate title for this class. So in conclusion, as families have worked together over the years, developing societies that grow into cities, and cities that in turn become major contributors to the basic building blocks required by individual families. Not only do cities provide what is needed, but they are major hubs of commerce. The need for a family to provide all facets of survival diminish, and we now have families that specialize in areas that contribute to overall health of the cities. By contributing specialized abilities to the city, this indirectly provides the ability to sustain individual families. Community is used as a resource to maintain the health of the modern family. Maslow has developed a hierarchy of needs that explain the conditions that need to be met in order to promote a positive outlook for an individual life. Through the course of this report, it has been explained that the family consists of individuals that take care of young, lean on a group for identity, and through the participation of the members, endeavor to have a successful family group. These attempts are outlined through 8 theoretical perspectives used by researchers to create a baseline for defining how a family functions. Also, using the data gathered by researchers to identify the needs of the family, we can see the connection between individual Maslow hierarchical needs and the family needs. Since families are made up of individuals, then it stands to reason that these characteristics would permeate the family unit. The value, beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors demonstrated within the family unit help to reinforce and solidify the identity that is created by its members, that also serves to unite the group through an ongoing timeline. These factors are not only impactful to the family resource management, but without these factors, there would be no reason to manage any resource that relates to the family. There cannot be one without the other. That's the conclusion of my presentation. I had more to say, but I only had 15 minutes on this thing, and I think I'm running close to the time. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I hope you're having a good night, day. Thank you.